Hello, parents and guardians. Over the last couple weeks, we have been in the hot topic of creation and evolution. Part of the reason it's a hot topic is because there's a lot of tension that we feel as Christians when everything that we hear is evolution, evolution, evolution. And so many Christians feel this tension. Most middle schoolers feel it because in 8th grade, they're taking biology, and especially if they're in the public school, they are getting evolution, evolution, evolution without a Christian perspective. Now, for 6th and 7th graders, the reason it's a hot topic is because they played with little play dinosaurs, and but they hear that dinosaurs were millions of years old, and how does that fit into the biblical context and when God created the days? And so it by far, this was the biggest question for our students was, how do we deal with creation and evolution? And so over the last couple weeks, I've tried to give them a framework for what is out there, for what people believe, and even what us as pastors even believe here at Lighthouse. And so in that, some of the kids may have come home and been, my head's about to explode. That was a lot of information. Well, this topic, more than any others, is very kind of academic, and so there was a lot of information, but hopefully they were able to grasp it. But more importantly, what I hope, and my prayer has always been, that they are equipped in a way that they can enter into a conversation about it. Where I think we as Christians have done a disservice is either we don't know enough, or we're so prideful that it begins to be an argument rather than a conversation. And once we start arguing and really not being in conversation, I think we lose some credibility. And so in this debate and in this understanding, we've looked at a number of views of creation from a Christian perspective. And so on one side, we've got a very young earth creationism. Young earth is that everything, the cosmos and everything in it, earth, is 6,000 to 30,000 years old. Most would kind of center around 10,000 to 15,000 years old, and that the 6 days in Genesis are a literal 6 24-hour day period in which dinosaurs existed, and everything got put in there. And there's some great theologians and pastors and philosophers that would adhere to that. People like Ken Ham, people like John MacArthur. On the other end of the perspective is what would probably be called a theistic evolution, where they adhere to that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, period. And that in the beginning is an open-ended time, that it could have been billions of years, it could be trillions of years. But since they are theistic evolutionists, they believe in that God began the power of creation through species evolving. And people like N.T. Wright or Tim Keller adhere more towards that. Then you have a bunch in between. You have gap creation. You have age day creation. You have progressive creation. And kind of maybe where I fall in more is what's called historical creation. And there's, below this video, I've given a couple of links to creation.com, which adheres more to the young earth. And there's some great videos and great resources to go through and process and learn. There's also a link to biologos.org, and they adhere more towards the theistic evolution. Again, for Christians, I think these are the kind of ends of the belief. And so to kind of give you some pieces as a parent to be able to learn, but also invite your student into and learn along with them and grow with them, question with them, try and reason with them, not to them, but with them. But then there's also a link to a book. It's called Genesis Unbound by Dr. John Sailhammer. People like John Piper and Gary Breshears, Mark Driscoll, Matt Chandler kind of adhere more to this historical creation, where in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, is seen as that as an undetermined time. And the 6 days where we see water separated by land, and then grasses and trees, and then fish and birds, and then land animals, and then humans, is more of the creation of the promised land of Eden. And here at Lighthouse, all the pastors, we stand on different spots on this. And so we've got some pastors that are maybe a lot closer to old earth creation or theistic evolution. We've got pastors that are closer to young earth, and we got pastors in between. Because again, here at Lighthouse, we're open to the conversation. We recognize that this is a complex one, but even though it's complex, we don't feel that this is a matter of salvation, that our salvation is in faith in Jesus, and either one of these beliefs doesn't make you believe less in sin or the need for redemption or Jesus, any of those kind of things. That these are ways of interpreting the literal words of Scripture. And so again, these resources are for you and for your family. What I'd encourage you to do, though, is look at both. Spend some time with both. And if you want to purchase Genesis Unbound, I'd encourage that. It's a fairly easy read. It's not too academic. Because again, this is a big topic. Again, for you parents of 6th and 7th graders, you're not in it yet, but you will be. For the parents of 8th graders, you're not done this year with biology class. They're going to have to wrestle with this throughout their high school years and even into college. And so you want to be equipped as best as you can. I get your kids just for a few minutes here and there. We can talk about it, we can dive into it, but I really want to be able to equip you to be able to have those conversations. Now, if you get stumped, it's okay to say, I don't know. Let's ask Pastor Scott, and I can direct you to some resources, or even give you my opinion, those kind of things. Please feel free to do that. I'm always here for you guys, especially on topics like this. This was a very cool hot topic. I was telling the kids I was super jacked because to me, all this stuff is very fascinating. When I sit with the theistic evolution things and they start talking about genes and DNA, it's really fascinating stuff. When I sit with Young Earth and I look at their reasons for this and how dinosaurs fit into a 6-day creation, it's really fascinating stuff. And so again, I love this stuff regardless of where a belief is for you and your family. And so again, enter in the conversation, whether it be enter in the conversation with your students. So whether that be around the computer, around the living room, or around the dinner table, don't be afraid to have these conversations. And again, if you need help, I'm always here for you. All right, God bless, guys. Sorry it was a long one. This next week, we're going to be getting into heaven, conversation about heaven for a couple weeks, and that's going to be much easier, much lighter. At least I hope so. At least how I've got it planned, it's much lighter and easier. And then we will be getting into talking about relationships and friendships and all that kind of stuff as well. So again, hot topics are hot because it pushes some buttons here and there. So again, I just love being able to serve you and your family and your kiddos. All right, God bless.